I was struck by your statement when you praised Sokol for, quote, having resurrected an operation that was destined for bankruptcy. This really got my attention because I don't recall you or Berkshire Hathaway saying earlier that NetJets was on the verge of bankruptcy at the time that his predecessor, Richard Santulli, had stepped down. In fact, at the time, the company seemed to give the impression it was dealing with a few short-term problems, but that it was fundamentally sound. In truth, how close was it to bankruptcy? And if that was the case, why didn't you tell us? Yeah. And finally, was it ethical for NetJets to be asking prospective clients to part with their money at a time when it was, in the eyes of its main shareholder, quote, destined for bankruptcy?
Yeah. I think I said it was, maybe we can find the exact words here, but I think I said it was destined for bankruptcy absent the fact that Berkshire Hathaway owned it, and if it had been a standalone entity. And Berkshire never had any intent, never would have had any intent of any kind to bankrupt NetJets. But if it had been owned as a standalone by somebody else, or the public, that's what would have happened to it. With Berkshire's ownership, Berkshire has had two insurance companies that would have gone bankrupt as standalone insurance companies. And it never crossed our mind that we would let them do it. So we put money into companies that were bankrupt, that Berkshire owned, to make them whole, basically. And essentially, we were doing the same thing with NetJets when we got it up to $1.9 billion. But NetJets, in my opinion, it would have been bankrupt. Absent somebody like Berkshire owning it. I'm almost positive that I said that absent Berkshire's ownership, or some words to that effect. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe Charlie can be commenting while I'm looking for this. In any event, well, I'm not finding it immediately where I even discussed it, but I know I talked about it on the bankruptcy thing, but I also know that I conditioned it on not being owned by Berkshire. Charlie?
No comment.
No comment. No, we've pointed that out to Standard & Poor's and Moody's. We look at Berkshire has a lot of different companies, but we feel that it's one entity, and Moody's or Standard & Poor's has to look at each one separately and all of that. But Charlie and I have not been running this business to walk away from some company. We had one in Louisiana, Southern Casualty, and we had another one in Chicago, both of which, if left to their own devices, would have gone bankrupt, and we didn't even think about not making them whole.